I booked a 9 to 400 family trip to Japan for Dad's 60th only to get a text. "We gave your spot to Kevin's girlfriend," I replied. "Got it." That night, I canceled the entire trip and changed the locks. I thought I'd found the perfect way to honor my dad's milestone birthday, a meticulously planned, once-in-a-lifetime journey through Japan's cherry blossom streets, all paid for with my own savings. For weeks, I juggled deadlines at the office and spreadsheets late into the night, comparing flight prices, mapping hotel proximity to Kyoto's temples, and reserving seats on the bullet train. I didn't mind scrimping on my own comfort coach ticket budget room, because I was the good son, the one who paid without complaint. My mother's gentle reminders. "We're proud of you, sweetheart. It's so hard for young folks these days. We just wish Kevin had your work ethic," echoed in my head. Not as praise, but as hooks of obligation I'd swallowed whole. When Kevin flunked his first job interview, I wired him extra cash for rent. When his ancient laptop died, I bought him a new one. When Madison, his new girlfriend, moved in without warning, she slid her boots across my hardwood floors while Kevin cheered her on, and still I covered their groceries and utilities, telling myself it was family. I covered the tuition bills and car payments, and even sprang for premium economy on the flights. Because my father deserved comfort, and my mother deserved sushi dinners in Tokyo. I deserved nothing. That parental gratitude disguised as expectation. "You're so lucky to have a sturdy job. Kevin just needs more time to find his path. Don't worry, we'll speak to him." Wasn't love, but a contract I paid they stayed. And so, I saved and planned until every dollar of that $9 to $400 trip felt earned by love and guilt in equal measure. I didn't resent my sacrifice. I told myself it was joy. But at night I lay awake haunted by the quietness of my own apartment, devoid of thank you notes or true affection. Only phone notifications begging another handout. "Can you send money for our meals? Dad's card declined. Can you help? Wish you were here." I believed that benevolence would bind us, that my selflessness would be remembered. But as the itinerary took shape, hotel for mom, ramen tour for Kevin, I failed to see that I was the ledger they balanced against everyone else's wish list. In my rush to be the good son, I became the good wallet, and I was tired of being used. Yet I still believed until that fateful text that family meant gratitude, and that assumption was about to shatter utterly. When my phone buzzed with that text, I didn't gasp or shout. I just stared at the screen waiting for the rest of the message that never came. "We gave your spot to Kevin's girlfriend. She's more fun." 20 words that stole a gift I'd labored over for 3 months and $9 to $400 of my savings. "No, sorry, no, we appreciate you," just a casual cruelty delivered in digital ink. In that moment, I saw the pattern for what it was. Subtle demands masked as gratitude, then swift betrayal when my usefulness expired. I pictured my mother curled up on the couch, swiping on her phone, while Kevin's girlfriend, this interloper, slipped into the premier seat on our father's big trip. I imagined their laughter in the departure lounge, all smiles and excited chatter, as one by one the seats I'd paid for were claimed with no thought for the man who booked them. It wasn't the money that stung after years of footing their bills. I'd grown used to watching my bank balance shrink. It was the sense that I was disposable. My parents had never once called to share the news in person. They simply reduced me to a line item in their group reservation, then erased me with a single swipe. I felt a cold clarity settle over me as I thought of every time I'd swallowed my own needs to accommodate theirs. Covering Kevin's rent, when his checks bounced springing for Madison's car payment after her accident, letting dozens of evenings and weekends vanish in service to their family priorities. And now, when my heart was set on making a memory for Dad, I'd been cut loose without ceremony. I could almost hear their voices, my mother's gentle reminders about responsible young adults. Kevin's familiar refrain that I was too serious. Madison's mocking relax. It's just travel, all the little jabs that had chipped away at my self-worth until I became simply the provider, not the son. My reply was equally brief. "Got it." Then I did what I needed to do, not in anger, but with deliberate precision. I canceled the trip flights, hotels, train passes, every non-refundable dollar. I changed the locks on the family house the same night. No one had invited me in with kindness. I wasn't inviting them back. In that quiet, resolute moment, I reclaimed what I'd given away for too long. It wasn't revenge exactly, it was the first act of self-respect I'd written in years. For a few days after I pulled the plug on Japan, my world went eerily quiet. No guilt trips, no disgruntled voicemails, not even a casual, "Why didn't you say something?" from Dad, just the steady hum of normal life without the background noise of their demands. I woke up at my usual hour, brewed coffee in peace, reviewed my dwindling calendar, and realized I had no flights to check in, for no sushi reservations to reconfirm, no bullet trains to catch. The silence felt almost sacred after years of living in a pressure cooker of family expectations. I spent those mornings reading on the back porch, sunlight drifting across my pages, letting the tension seep out of my shoulders. Evenings were spent cooking for one, instead of coordinating everyone's preferences. It was as if my life had slowed to the pace I'd always craved, and that pace was terrifyingly still. But I also felt something new, stirring beneath the calm, a quiet confidence, a reminder that I could choose my own path, rather than just finance theirs. On day 3, I noticed a single text come through from the hotel's billing department. Your card on file was declined. Please update to avoid group cancellation. No mention of my parents or Kevin, just the clinical reminder that they were now guests on a reservation I'd erased. I didn't reply. By day 4, I saw Kevin had texted me once, "Bro, give us a heads up next time." And again, I had to put the trip on my card. "Don't worry, I'll figure it out." I left those messages unread. The absence of my family's usual barrage of helpful suggestions felt strange, a lull before something else. I resisted peeking at our group chat, but curiosity gnawed at me. Had the invitation to Japan become a ghost thread in their conversation? Or had they simply moved on? The answers didn't matter yet. I had reclaimed my time, my money, my choice. Then on the evening of day 5, a single knock at my door shattered the stillness. It wasn't Dad's gentle rapping or Kevin's half-joking call to open up and let the real fun begin. It was forceful, panicked, demanding. The silence had broken, and I sensed the storm gathering on the other side of my reclaimed doorway, ready to rain down confrontation. The phone rings at precisely 2:17 p.m., and I don't hesitate. It's the hotel's front desk, Mr. Adams. We noticed a discrepancy. But before the clerk can finish, I cut in, "Please cancel the reservation for the entire party. All rooms, all days." My voice is steady like a dam snapping. I hear hesitation on the other end. "Sir, even non-refundable rooms, but I've rehearsed this." "That's fine. Charge whatever penalties you must to my card, then notify security to escort any remaining guests from the premises. I'm told someone has taken my spot. Now the spots are mine to erase." Click. My finger hovers momentarily over the smartphone's call end icon, then presses it home. I drop back onto the couch and let the silence wash over me. No more reservations, no more silent expectations that I'll loosen my wallet one more time. Not today, not ever again. In the next hour, I methodically repeat the process. Airlines are informed, corporate travel desk, reverse train passes surrendered, and restaurant bookings for the sushi bar and tea house vanish like ghosts. My email inbox fills with automated cancellation notices and, "We're sorry to see you go," replies that taste like salt in my mouth. Each one is a hammer strike against the gilded chains of obligation I've worn for years. I even dispute the final credit card charge on the bank's website, unauthorized travel expense. Dispute all charges. The red pending dispute banner is my victory flag. By 4 p.m. I am free, and I need my family to feel that freedom as sharply as I do. So, I go further. I drive to the house in the suburbs, the one I legally own, but they've lurked in rent-free for half a decade. With a calm, practiced hand, I change the lock's new deadbolt keypad entry, triple reinforced steel. I toss the old keys in the recycling bin, along with the last scraps of guilt I ever felt for them. I walk inside, flip on the lights, and admire the echoing emptiness. No clutter of Kevin's dirty sneakers. No half-empty takeout containers from Mom's midnight snacks. Just me, my coffee mug, and the blank walls that once held their laughter. Outside, I step onto the porch and survey the street. At any moment, I know they'll return to find their lives suddenly unmoored. No rooms, no flights, no home. And as they stand there stunned in the wind, I'll be inside sipping tea in the quiet I finally earned. This is my breaking point. This is the cancellation of everything they ever took for granted. And the only sound I'll hear is my own heartbeat unburdened for the first time in years. The sun hadn't yet crested the horizon the morning after I changed the locks, but I woke to a strange sense of calm, the first real calm I'd known in years. I padded downstairs in my slippers, brewed a mug of strong coffee, and sat at the kitchen island, fingers wrapped around warmth, and finally owning this house. My ground. Outside, the neighborhood yawned to life. The mail carrier's truck rattled by the garbage bins clanged, and a jogger waved as he passed the front gate I'd just secured, with a brand new smart lock keypad. Behind those walls, though, I felt utterly alone, but in a good way. This was my fortress, my sanctuary. No longer a free-for-all invitation for freeloading family members. I'd spent too long policing their feelings, their whims, their latest emergencies. This lockdown was my declaration that I exist first. Later that afternoon, as the coffee shop down the block texted a declined transaction alert from my parents' bank card, I watched the tiny red icon glow on my phone and felt the first flicker of satisfaction. They would not drink their morning lattes here anymore, not without my express permission. When my mother called in a panic, her voice wobbling over the line. "Sweetheart, what's happening? Your father and I can't get into the house." I stayed silent for a heartbeat. Then, "The locks have changed. If you'd like to rent a room, let me know. Otherwise, you'll need to find alternate accommodations." I hung up before the guilt could seep in, before the practice pleaser reflex could yank me back into their drama. That evening, I walked through each empty room. The living room where Mom once hosted her endless coffee clatches, the bedroom where Kevin left his socks like breadcrumbs, the study where Dad borrowed my printer without asking, and I touched the walls as if baptizing the space in my own ownership. No pictures hung, no evidence of their presence remained. This house was finally mine. I lit a single candle on the dining table and sat alone in the soft golden glow, tasting the silence. In that quiet, I acknowledged how long I'd sacrificed the trips I booked, the tuition I paid, the late-night calls about flat tires and broken hearts. Tonight, none of that mattered. I'm no one's emergency fund, no one's backup plan. I'm not their unpaid concierge, I'm just me, the son who learned that boundaries are built with locked doors and unblinking no's. And as I blew out the candle, I whispered to the empty room, "This is where I stand." No regret, no turning back, only the firm knowledge that here at last, I claim my ground. The morning after I changed the locks, a seismic hush rippled through the family group. Chat first, a single. "Where are you from?" "Mom," then a flurry of guilt-laden pleas. "I'm so sorry, sweetie, we never meant to hurt you. Your father is heartbroken. Kevin misses you so much." Their words piled up in digital form, but I simply watched the unread count climb. By midday, anger surfaced to Dad's terse. "This is ridiculous. Let's talk it." Like adults was followed by Kevin's snide. "Enjoy your solo, coffee bossy boots," and Mom's indignant. "We raised you better than this." I could almost hear the exasperated sighs as they each tried to pivot. First, guilt, then anger. Then the deafening silence when even the bribes and promises failed to draw me back. At the coffee shop down the street, the barista spilled the beans. Mrs. Adams just stood here staring at her declined card for a full minute before storming off. That image, her stiff-shouldered retreat, felt like a badge of honor. Inside the house, I felt the absence of their clutter, like a physical presence. No knickknacks from their vacations, no half-drunk water glasses, no laundry basket brimming with Kevin's socks. The walls were echo chambers for memories I once made for them, now free to reflect only my own footsteps. Over the next few days, the family tried everything: late-night calls at 10 p.m., on a Tuesday group texts at 7 a.m., urging me to please reconsider. Impassioned letters slid under my door. "You're making Dad miserable on his birthday month." But each message only strengthened my resolve. Guilt couldn't compel me to compromise my peace, and anger couldn't push me back where I'd been taken for granted. And then came the silence. No more calls, no more texts, just the soft clicking of my own life moving forward. My phone, once a lightning rod for parental emergencies, buzzed only with friends checking in, unaware of the family maelstrom. I realized that sometimes the most powerful response isn't a retort or an apology. It's the quiet rebuilding of boundaries others refuse to respect. By week's end, the family thread had become a ghost town. No "good morning," no "how's work," just the memory of their demands now dissolved into emptiness. And in that silence, I discovered something unexpected. Freedom isn't given or taken, it's claimed by those brave enough to endure the fallout. After the whirlwind of guilt and anger receded, I stood in the bare living room of my newly emptied house and realized I had a rare unclaimed gift space, physical, emotional, and mental. The sofas, tables, even the curtains that once buzzed with family drama were gone, donated, or sold, leaving only sunlight streaming through clean windows onto polished floors. In that simplicity, I found freedom. I packed the last of my belongings into a single backpack, my favorite leather notebook, a few well-worn t-shirts, the sapphire necklace Michael gave me, and signed the lease for a small loft apartment downtown, with concrete floors and a single huge window overlooking the city skyline. No closets bursting with other people's clutter, no half-used family gifts gathering dust. Just a narrow kitchen counter where I brewed coffee each morning, and a tiny bookshelf holding the few volumes that still spoke to me. I woke at 6, brewed espresso, and wrote in my journal for 30 minutes before work, reveling in silence that wasn't broken by someone else's demands. On weekends, instead of cleaning piles of relatives' laundry, I walked through the neighborhood park, my footsteps echoing on empty paths, reminding me that even I could step softly when no one else depended on me. I discovered minimalist cooking, one-pot meals, fresh vegetables, the art of savoring flavor without fuss, and realized it mirrored my life. Now simple ingredients, no excess, every decision intentional. My walls, once plastered with family photos, now bore only a single black and white print of Mount Fuji, a nod to the trip that never was, and the lesson I gained instead. I unsubscribed from group chats that had been guilt traps, kept just a handful of contacts, friends, who checked in without asking for bailouts and let the rest fall away. I learned to say no without bracing for impact, to honor my own calendar and budget first, and to treat myself as the main character in my story, not the unpaid supporting actor in someone else's production. The streamlined routines, the uncluttered space, the soft hum of my fridge at night, it all whispered a powerful truth. Self-care isn't selfish, it's survival. In that modest apartment, every square foot belonged to me, and with each breath I reclaimed, I wove a new identity built on boundaries, presence, and peace. For the first time in years, I wasn't rebuilding to fill someone else's expectations, I was reconstructing a life I actually chose. After months of chaos, what I carry now isn't resentment, but a deep-seated lesson in self-worth that reshapes every choice I make. I learned first that my value wasn't measured by how much I could give others. When I canceled that $9 out of $400 trip and doubled my parents' rent, I discovered freedom in standing up for my own needs. Second, I realized that boundaries aren't walls to isolate us, but fences that protect our peace, saying no to Kevin's spending money texts, blocking my mother's guilt trips, and unsubscribing from family group chats taught me I deserve respect, not exploitation. Finally, I understood that true connection comes from mutual care. Not one-sided sacrifice. The friends who stayed, who checked in without asking for bailouts, became my chosen family. And their steady companionship showed me I'm worthy of kindness simply because I exist. Each morning, I wake in my minimalist loft, brew coffee on a narrow counter, and jot 3 gratitudes in my journal, moments of joy that once passed unnoticed, because I was too busy rescuing someone else's life at the expense of my own. Walking those empty park paths, I replayed the scene when Madison's card declined and Kevin's laugh turned hollow. It wasn't just a funny punchline, it was a reflection of how little they understood my worth beyond being their ATM. I remember staring at the bare walls, the same ones I'd stripped of family photos, and realizing I'd erased every trace of who I'd been when I lost myself in their demands. Now that blank canvas is both a warning and a promise, warning that I'll never again let obligation silence my needs. Promise that I'll paint my life in colors of my own choosing. The hardest lesson was forgiving myself for believing I needed to earn love through generosity when love should come freely. My restored self-worth feels like a second heartbeat, steadier, stronger, firmly grounded in the knowledge that I'm more than a stopgap solution. As I plan my solo trip to Iceland under the northern lights, I carry these revelations with me, that valuing myself isn't vanity, it's sanity. That closing the door behind me unlocked a life spent not repairing others, but honoring the person I am and the future I deserve. Standing in my new living room, the hum of the city below feels less like noise and more like possibility. No longer a backdrop for someone else's drama, but the soundtrack to my own story. I thought I'd lose everything when I stood up for myself. Family approval, easy answers, the safety net of being the good son. Instead, I found something far rarer: self-respect. I learned that boundaries aren't betrayals. They're blueprints for a life built on mutual care and not exploitation. I realized that generosity without reciprocity is a debt you pay forever, and that walking away from toxic patterns is proof of courage, not weakness. Now, as I plan my solo trip beneath Iceland's northern lights, my first journey purely for joy, I'm reminded that the greatest gifts we can give ourselves are freedom and dignity. If my story has shown you that it's never too late to reclaim your worth, I invite you to share your own turning point in the comments. Hit like if you believe that no can be the kindest word you ever say to yourself, and subscribe for more real-life journeys where ordinary people find extraordinary strength. And if you're ready for the next chapter, where we dive into the unexpected power of saying, I choose me, click the video on your screen now. Because sometimes the most radical act of love is the love we save for ourselves.